Welcome back, everyone. Today's video, welcome to lesson 1. Today's video is going to be on the verb to be. To be is like the most important verb in English. And before we get into the uses, let's look at the conjugation first. So here we have the conjugation chart for the verb to be. There's the important pronouns I, you, he, she, or it, so another person or an object, we, and they, which is multiple people apart from you, right? Okay, so let's just go through the conjugation of to be before we get into the uses. So I am. I am. You are. He, she, it is. We are. And they are. Okay? So one more time. I am, you are, he, she, or it is, we are, they are. Right? Okay, so let's go over the uses of the verb to be. And in English, to be is used for many different scenarios, meaning it's actually quite simple. So first is an unchanging statement, something that is almost always constant. So, for example, I am a man. Or something along those lines is an unchanging statement. And as you can see, it uses the verb to be in the I sense. So I am, right? So it also can be used for statements that may change. So changing statements. And this could be something that maybe changes often, maybe not. But an example of this would be like, I am cold, right? Or she is happy. So these things change. Maybe tomorrow you could change it to I am hot, right? So these things change, however, they still use the same verb to be. They still use am, and then in this case, maybe the next day she is sad. However, they still use the same verb to be. Now you'll also use to be in talking about age. So in English, we use to be for age like this. We'll say, I am 27 years old. Or we are 32 years old. So unlike having age as a possession, we use the verb to be to talk about age. We also use to be for sensation. So, for example, I am hungry. We use the same verb to be. So this just shows quite a few examples of the overarching theme that the verb to be is used for essentially every single English word and when you're describing yourself or other people. The verb to be is used for all of these and more, so it's extremely important to learn. So we'll look now at forming questions with to be. And these questions are probably some of the most common and important you'll come across in English. So let's start with a statement. The statement could be, they are from Boston, for example. And this just says it's a declaration. They are from Boston, right? However, once this is formed into a question, you switch the pronoun and the verb to be. So you just switch the two. And from there, it would become, are they from Boston? This is how you'll formulate questions in English, but in the specific case of the verb to be, you do the same thing as always, flip the pronoun and the verb, and you will come out with questions like this. Oh, what the hell? So now we'll look through 2 examples of questions practice using the verb to be. These are the same ones as we did last time, just flipping the pronoun with the verb itself. So please pause the video, go ahead and complete this exercise, and we'll look back after you're done together. Okay, so let's go over these 2 questions. We have the statements given to us, and then we're just going to turn them into questions with the verb to be. The first one here, they are 24 years old. They are 24 years old. So just as before, we swap these 2, and it becomes, are they 24 years old? Okay? Same rest of the sentence. The 24 years old part remains the same. It's just the pronoun and the verb that are flipped to make the question. Now, how about this one? He is from El Salvador. We would say, is he from El Salvador? Just like that. So that is just some more practice with formulating questions from statements with the verb to be. Okay, so this next exercise is a word scramble to create questions with the verb to be. And what they will do is they'll give you a series of words out of order, and we have to switch some around and change them to create a correct question with the verb to be. Now, you'll notice most of these, all here, have the word what in them. And what is probably the most common question word in English. The question words in English are generally these ones. What, where, when, why, how, and who. So often if you see these words, it'll be part of a question. These are the most common English question words that you should know. Take a moment to study these, translate them, however, just to understand what each of them specifically mean, and so you can understand questions. However, coming back to this exercise, what usually concerns a noun, an object. So have a look at this one. What brothers is name your? This doesn't make a ton of sense right now, so we do have to change some words to make it into a cohesive question. So because it's a question, you start with what? The question word. So you'll start with what, and then in English, you'd have to continue with the verb, because what is talking about a verb to be. And the part in this phrase that has the verb to be is. He is, she is, it is, right? So what is, and then the object, what are we talking about? We're talking about your brother's name. So what is your brother's name? So let's take a look at this again. You start with the question word. In this case, it's what. Then you go with the verb. And here it would be the verb to be. After that, the thing that we're talking about, what we want to have clarified for us, your brother's name, the subject of the sentence, right? So let's do a few more together to try to really get the hang of this. Here's this one. It gives you is, what, address, your. So like before, we start with the question word, which is what. Then we have to go with the verb, is, and then finally, your address. So, same thing as before. The question word is first, then comes the verb, and then finally, after that, the subject, right? Okay, go ahead and do questions 3 down to question 10 here, and then we'll go over them together. Okay, now that you've completed questions 3 through 10, let's go over them together. Question 3. It gives you this. Favorite is your food what? Like the others, we start with what, and then the verb to be, is, and then the rest, your favorite food. Keep in mind, this green part, the order here, isn't as important for this exercise as this first part. This part here, the what is, getting the question word and the verb in the correct order at the beginning of the sentence, is the most important part for this exercise in formulating questions with to be. But let's continue. Number 4, what is your name? All right, let's continue 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. What is the date today? Number 6. Number 6 asks you with a different question. It uses how. How. That is also one of the English question words that we discussed before. Here it is. So how. And specifically, it says how much. How much is asking quantity. How much? 1, 2, 3, a lot, a little, how much? So it'll ask how much is, because you always go with the verb after, is that shirt? Okay, 7. 7 also uses how. This one's much easier. It just asks how. Then, of course, you have to get the verb, are you. How are you? Okay, number 8. Same as before. What is your surname? In the US, we might say last name as well. Okay, number 9. What is your postcode? And then last but not least is number 10. 10 gives us a new question word as well. 10 asks when. When concerns what time. But still, it's the same way to make it happen. When, the question word at the beginning, then the verb is, and finally, your birthday. Thank you so much for watching this video on the verb to be, especially with questions. If you enjoyed the video and you'd like me to make more, please subscribe. Just the red button at the bottom, of course. This worksheet, both blank and with the answers, is under in the description. So this whole sheet is in the description with all my notes. So please make use of that, as well as where the blank sheet will be found. Our next video should be out soon, which will be concerning personal information, especially how to fill out forms, addresses, things like that. So thank you so much for tuning in to lesson 1 of Andrew McDonald English, and lesson 2 should be out very soon. Thank you.